Hey there, it's producer Dave Morris. We are on holiday break and using the time wisely. We're making some changes that will refocus the podcast a little for the future. When we're back in January, Mind Matters will be known as the Neurodiversity Podcast. We feel like the new name will help people recognize and understand what we're about and hopefully make it even easier to find us. And we'll be releasing episodes more often, so there will be even more great conversations with experts who can help us better understand all aspects of neurodiversity. So be here in January when Mind Matters becomes the Neurodiversity Podcast. And to help bridge the gap between now and January, we thought we would bring you an encore presentation of our episode 48, which was Jen Merrill. She was talking with Emily about the holidays. It can be a headache, and it's always hard to pick the right gifts for high-ability kids, and so they had a conversation about that, and it featured some fun anecdotes about each of their Christmas experiences through life. We thought we'd bring that to you again today. Thank you again, and we'll see you in January. Welcome to the Mind.
What do we really mean by genius?
Matters.
Gifted brains are different.
Podcast. An exploration of giftedness.
This idea of gifted and what it is and what it isn't.
Twice exceptionality.
No two twice exceptional people are exactly the same.
And neurodiversity.
It's okay to be who you are.
In childhood.
I like to learn about things, but I like to learn my way.
And beyond. This is Mind Matters.
Welcome to a special holiday edition of Mind Matters. Today, we're going to be featuring ideas about surviving the holidays with neurodiverse kids and giving some gift ideas that are really great for those brainy kids in your life. With us today is Jen Merrill. Jen's the author of the book, If This Is a Gift, Can I Send It Back? And you can find her at laughingatchaos.com. Jen, thank you for doing this special edition with us. So remind us, you are or you're not a Black Friday shopper?
Not enough money in the world for me to go shopping on Black Friday.
Yeah, so, so we're kind of getting prepped. And now, how old are your kids?
I have two sons, 18 and 15.
What is the general holiday mood in your house? Like, is it something to look forward to?
These days, it's a little slightly more Norman Rockwell than it used to be. You know, you've got the trees and you got the decorations, and hopefully I've had time to bake and actually bought gifts. The boys sleep in now. It is so glorious. I can't even begin to tell you. There were several photos of me when the boys were younger after Christmas gifts that my husband took of me passed out on the floor underneath the Christmas tree because they would get up at the crack of crazy. So now with teenagers, we just let them sleep. Yeah. We go downstairs, we'll start some breakfast, we make Irish coffee, and we just sit there under the tree and wait for them to come down. Sometimes they might come through and be like, yo, hey, parents, wake up. Presents, let's go. But it's a lot more chill. And you know, I really appreciate that. And we still get to enjoy the fun excitement of like Santa and Christmas and all that jazz. Because we have, my brother has two young sons and they're local. So we get to live through them. They're 8 and 3. So we get to live the magic and ooh and ah through them. But for the rest of us, it's like, yes, it's a day to do nothing but sit in our pajamas and play with presents.
Our kids are 11 and 9 and 4.
Yeah.
I can't even get my kids to sleep in like on a Saturday.
I am so sorry.
What about when you were a kid? Were you a big holiday kid when you were young?
I've always been a Thanksgiving person.
Yeah.
I love Thanksgiving. I mean, it's my holiday. You know, it's a food and a parade. I get to watch marching bands and eat stuffing and pie. It's
right up your alley?
It's right up my alley. But Christmas, Christmas has always just been, it was always kind of fun growing up. My dad's an only child. My mom has 3 brothers. So we would alternate going to grandparents' houses, and they all live, southern central Illinois. So it was always a little bit of a road trip to get to grandma's house. And my mom's parents would have Christmas parties in their basement, and they had like this is back in the 70s and 80s. They had a wet bar in their basement and a fireplace and a Christmas tree that stayed up year round. grandma just covered it in plastic.
Smart.
Right. And so we would go there and party. And the kids were never allowed upstairs because that's where the aunts were wrapping presents. And I think, frankly, it was just the aunts hiding from us with the perspective of a parent now. They were upstairs drinking and hiding from the kids. And I don't blame them one whit. But we'd get to play with our cousins and have a grand old time. And as we got older, we didn't travel quite as much. My parents wanted to have us at home and create their own traditions. And so you open one gift on Christmas Eve and you open the rest Christmas morning. And we would have waffles or my dad's famous biscuits and gravy on Christmas Day. And we would just chill.
I was one of those kids who zero response inhibition whatsoever. So that's what I'm blaming on the fact that I needed to I was a peeker. Were you a peeker?
No, I was never a peeker. I was never a shaker.
Beyond shaking, so here's one of the things that I used to do.
Oh, no.
So because I was very strategic and we'll call it strategic. We'll go with that. So my mom has 8 brothers and sisters, and they all lived kind of out on the East Coast. And so we always had a lot of gifts under the tree before Christmas because they would all mail things over.
Right.
And so I learned that, that Scotch tape, if you have kids listening, please don't give them any ideas. This was bad. I should not have done this.
Yeah.
But I could very carefully open one edge of the present and peek in and see what it was, and then wrap it back up and put another piece of Scotch tape right over it, and no one would ever really know. And so I disclosed this to my sister, who was 3 years younger than me.
Oh my God.
I apparently wasn't clear enough about what exactly my strategy was. So she actually in turn would open the entire gift and then rewrap it in different paper. That was paper that we had at the house. And I'm like, Liz, come on. You're killing me here.
You're giving it away.
So I was sneaky about that. I don't know. It was like I just couldn't wait.
Oh, yeah.
It was too much for me to resist.
That's hysterical.
The holidays, we're not even to Thanksgiving yet, and my kids are already dysregulated. They're just, so my 2 older are gifted and both have ADHD, and then my little one is, 4. What is it about that dysregulation around the holidays with kids?
I swear they pick it up from us. Because, if you think about it with the gifted and the wiring, and I've heard this, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Patty Gatto Walden, who called them satellite TV. Most people are cable. They get maybe 50 channels in, 50 channels out. These amazing kids get 300 channels in, 300 channels out. So they're picking up so much more. I think they pick up what we are sensing and feeling and coping with, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So they're catching our vibe, and then they start to see the commercials, and then they start to, out and about, they're picking up all the vibe from everybody.
Right.
And I don't think they even realize they're doing it. They're just catching what is in the air. They're like little, HEPA filters of emotion. They're catching everything and responding to that. And it's hard to deal with that, fix that when we don't realize we're doing it. So I think as I've gotten more chill with my kids, they've gotten more chill, and we've started feeding off of each other that way. It also helps that my kids have gotten a lot more laid back about certain things, even as they've remained pretty intensely wired about other things. They don't get as wound up about the holidays as they used to. Thank God.
Right.
They save it for, school and work and college applications and stuff. But it's less of, oh my God, am I going to get the present I want? Oh my God, this, blah, 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 where it used to drive us just up the wall.
As you get older, I remember there was a point where my mom would kind of just say, well, what do you want for Christmas?
Right.
It wasn't going to be a whole lot of surprises often.
Right.
I think my son this year is kind of, he's a 6th grader this year, and we're getting to that point where it's he's got some specific things that he wants.
Our younger one last year started a wish list on Amazon. Okay, that's great. It's hundreds of dollars of things each. And I'm like, nah, not happening. Sorry. So I keep my ears open all year round, and I have a locked down private Pinterest board of gift ideas for them and my husband. And as I see something or I hear them say, oh, that'd be really cool to have, I look it up, Google it, and chuck it onto the onto the Pinterest board.
Smart idea.
So it's a little more surprise. Like they might mention something in April and it suddenly shows up in December. And they're like, how'd you know? Well, I'm mom. I know all.
But using Pinterest to do that is a great idea.
I'll do you one better. They never know what to get me ever because they're like, oh, what would mom like? Flute stuff. No, not really. But that's a good, good guess. Thank you. So I created a locked down Pinterest board where the four of us are all on this. And it is called Gift Ideas for Mom. And I put stuff on there that I like. And so they all see when I add stuff on there. And they get ideas of, oh, hey, she would like that. Yeah, she really would. Good idea. And then I get my husband a cash gift card so that he can go buy me presents and it doesn't show up on the banking statements that I'm in charge of. So I'm surprised. Last year was the first time I was surprised by any gifts in like 20 years.
Yeah, that's cool though. That's a good idea,
I got stuff I wanted and I didn't know I was getting it. It was brilliant. I was a happy camper last Christmas.
We actually just started last weekend. My daughter and I were kind of talking about it. I mean, I've just been so crazy busy. I'm surprised that we started it this early, but she had an idea for something. And again, we were looking through Pinterest and so my daughter is one of those collector/hoarder children. And so she keeps all of the things. And so she had about 3 different gallon-sized bags of seashells that she's collected over the years up in her room.
I'm familiar.
We found some very cool little ornamenty crafts that she's making with some seashells.
Wow.
You take 3 of them and stack them and hot glue them and then make them into little snowmen. And so they're super cute. But then we're using stuff that she already had and something that's kind of important to her. So that was kind of a cool thing that we were able to do.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We stopped doing gifts for extended family a few years ago. It just got expensive and challenging. It got really hard. We did drawing names with my husband's family. We did that for a while. And then the kids just got older and it ended up being just giving them gift cards and money. And then it just sort of just tapered off.
Now, just to refresh people's memories, if maybe they haven't heard, your episode or it's been a while. So you've got 1 2E kid and 1 straight gifted. Is that correct?
1 2E kid and 1 to be determined. We're not certain. I think there's like some 2E in there, but we just don't know.
So when you look back, like what are some of the best gifts or the worst gifts that you've either given or that they've received?
I was asking my husband this, and I can't think of anything that was really a worst gift.
Yeah.
The best I could probably come up with is like clothing that just wouldn't fit sensory wise. Like there's tags in it or they lived in like track pants forever. And one of them still does. So that they, get like khakis or something that weren't going to work, or basically it would probably just be clothes or, books or something that just didn't interest them.
Yeah.
But nothing that would cause just an overwhelming response. Or I've blocked it out of sanity preservation. Best gifts would come down to things that were just right up their interest alley. The Perplexus, like that 3D globe maze thing with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like a Rube Goldberg machine inside this clear ball thing. Our oldest one, Andy, got a couple of those when he was younger. Got like the first one, then he got a more advanced one. He loved it. He is still such a visual spatial learner. I mean, he sees everything in 3 dimensions. So having this 3-dimensional puzzle maze thing was fascinating to watch. He loved it so much. And there's several of them now, the Perplexus. They're really good to have in a car, especially for long car trips. If the rattle of the
marble
little ball doesn't drive you nuts, right? And if the kid has a decent frustration tolerance, because it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Other things that they really enjoyed are tech stuff. Like a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little programmable computer. It's like $30. And they are pretty powerful. It's amazing what you can do with a Raspberry Pi. He loved getting magazines from Make Magazine. In fact, pretty much anything at makershed.com for your tech interests. It's all sorts of hands-on stuff. When he was younger, snap circuits. Oh, I think he had every kit possible of snap circuits. And they're the best. It really teaches how electricity and circuitry works using snaps. and little bars and stuff. He loved it. He created all sorts of stuff. Magazines, subscription boxes. I once won or was gifted a Pocket Lab, and it's at thepocketlab.com, and it's like a little sensor that you can hook up to a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino, and it will allow you to scientifically track stuff like barometric pressure and distance, and you name it, you can track it. And it was really kind of cool to watch how he could play with that. Panel and girdle, good grief. Panel and girder sets for building.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
They're like these little, it's for architecture.
Okay.
And so you've got these plastic girders, and they're like little bars, and you assemble them with the panels, and they're little plastic panels, and you can build three-dimensional houses. You can build all sorts. It's a different kind of building set. I personally am a fan of Lego. My husband loved his girder and panel set when he was younger, so we got one for Jack, our younger kid, when he was probably 8 or something, when he was going through a big architecture phase. And it was a lot of fun. He and Dad got to play it together and build stuff, and then he was done with that. But, for the kid who really enjoys architecture, it's a lot of fun. You can build all sorts of really neat things.
Yeah. For Maggie, who's my 9-year-old, last year, she was obsessed. Well, she had been obsessed for a couple of years about wanting horseback riding lessons. And we had been like pushing it off.
Yeah.
And so last year, she had kind of a horse-themed Christmas, but one of the things that she received was a couple months worth of horseback riding lessons.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was unsure about how that would go. But for my little twice exceptional gifted ADHD kid, horseback riding was amazing for her executive functioning skills because she had to focus on what the instructor was telling her.
Oh, yeah.
She had to, use task initiation immediately when she was told to do something. Mm-hmm. She had to have that response inhibition. She had to be very, from a sensory standpoint, in control and aware of where her body was. And I was surprisingly pleased with that, how that gift kind of worked for her. It was really a good opportunity for her to kind of work on some of those things.
Hippotherapy was something that I'd looked into for Andy when he was 8 or 9. We were living in Colorado at the time, and there were several ranches in the area that provided that, and they were always booked up full, and I could never get him in. And for that exact reason, it engages all of your senses and your executive function, and you have to know how to regulate yourself and regulate yourself well, because the horse will pick up on that. And just like our kids pick up on the emotions that they sense around them, the horse is going to pick up as well. And if you're calm, the horse is calm. I really wish we had been able to do that. And then we moved to Illinois, and there's really nothing here. Any kind of horse riding is, English riding.
Yeah.
But those kind of experiences are fantastic. Several years ago, we got tickets to see Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it was just the best gift for the family for Christmas. It was the best. Because it was exactly the stuff the boys were fascinated by. And it was an easy gift for us. Nothing to clutter around the house. We all went out to dinner, had a great time, came home, boom. That was our Christmas.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, we got tickets to see some YouTube science thing, and they had to cancel. Well, all right, it's great. We got our money back. Now what do we do? That was our Christmas gift. And we stumbled into Hamilton tickets.
Wow.
And we got very, very inexpensive Hamilton tickets through a connection of my husband's. And boom, there went our Christmas money for it. And because we just hung on to the refund and got to see Hamilton. They were the nosebleediest of nosebleed seats, partly obstructed, but we still got up there and got to watch it. And oh my God, was it good?
Yeah. I love doing experiences for gifts.
Yeah, I do too.
We had talked in some of the Mind Matters group that we have online on Facebook and everything, kind of getting some ideas from people. But I think the hard part about giving experiences is that, especially for kids, like there's no immediate gratification.
Right.
Like there's not always something to open or something to do. And so I don't know. I mean, was there an age where your kids got a little bit more okay with that, where they could delay that gratification? Or was that something you coached them through and kind of talked to them about?
A little of both. I think they were tween age, like 9 to 12, 8 to 12, something around that age when we started that sort of thing. When we went to Neil deGrasse Tyson, that was almost 5 years ago. But we've done things like museum memberships. Living closer to Chicago, oh my God, the museums down there are amazing. So one year we got a membership to the Museum of Science and Industry, and which is one of my favorite museums ever. And we made sure we got one that had like the extra tickets for the IMAX and included parking. Pro tip, always get the membership with the included parking, because 2 visits and you're covered. I can't remember if we just had like an envelope on our tree or if we got like a science-y toy or something and then included that with like the science-y toy. Like
That's a good idea.
a Perplexus or something. Yeah, right? And just included in there, or something from the gift shop from that particular museum. But having a membership like that is fantastic, because then they have member nights when you can go do special member things. And at the Museum of Science and Industry, you get to go behind the scenes of a lot of exhibits. You get to go and see, behind the closed doors. And they had an ice cream social, and it's the only building remaining from the Columbian Exposition that was held in Chicago, which is really kind of cool. So you get to see all sorts of really neat things. So I highly recommend a museum membership. I mean, if your kid's into art, throw them in an art museum. A lot of art museums have classes too, by the way. They're really good for that kind of kid. But if you have access to museums, they can be a really, really good gift. But you're right. Trying to make the experience when you're opening gifts, that needs a little extra forethought. Because otherwise it's just, oh, well, great, we got to go to a museum now. No, you don't. You get to go to a museum now.
Yeah, it's fun. We're having fun here, kids.
It's fun.
Whether you like it or not.
We're going to have fun, by God. Or, theme park tickets, depending on your kid. Get a membership to like Six Flags. That's the gift that keeps on giving. For my family, it would be a raging nightmare. We have been to Six Flags exactly once since moving back here, and we live not far from it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we don't have to go again. None of us enjoy it that much.
Any of those sensory kids, my son is not a fan of this. Like, he likes to go, and there are some things he likes to do. Mm-hmm. My daughter, who's a thrill seeker, she loves it.
Oh, yeah.
So do you have any ideas or thoughts about gifts that aren't necessarily, maybe something that they would have on their list or even an experience, but just one of those things that you're like, wow, this would be something that would be really, a benefit, or something that maybe is a little more expensive that you wouldn't just buy during the rest of the year?
It's hard to spend money on these kids when it feels like we spend money on these kids all the time. I highly recommend weighted blankets.
Yeah.
They are coming down in price, and you can get them on Amazon now, which I find remarkable, because when I first bought a weighted blanket a bazillion years ago, I had to special order it through a website I was lucky to find. But weighted blankets are the bomb for highly sensory kids. It calms them down. It is... I sleep under my son's old one. He has a newer one. It's not heavy enough for me. I'm tempted to get a heavy one for me, and because they're just soothing. It's like you go to the dentist, they put on the lead apron, and I'm like, can you just leave it on me? I know that sounds weird, but it's just so soothing having that weight. The other thing that I'm looking into, and I look into for my kids all the time, are subscription boxes, something that might come every month or every other month. To just keep it going all year long. Cratejoy.com has a huge variety of subscription boxes for all ages and interests. And then stocking stuffers. I always go for unusual candies or foods that I'm not going to buy my kids throughout the year. Like, I have one kid who loves Kit Kats, like crazy loves Kit Kats.
Oh, yeah?
So one year I got him... I might do it again this year. I got him like the Japanese assortment of Kit Kats, because I guess in Japanese Kit Kat sounds like luck or something along those lines. So they're very popular, and he had like green tea Kit Kat and guava. I mean, just strawberry. And it was like 20 different flavors of Kit Kats. He was in heaven.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, like the unusual stuff. You go to World Market, you can find all sorts of really cool things. And, the internet is your friend. I think one year when growing up, I got smoked oysters in mine. because I loved smoked oysters, but my parents aren't just, they thought, hey, this will be fun. And raspberry vinaigrette. Who knew?
We should put some French fried onions in Grayson's stocking this year.
There you go. When else are you going to buy your kids chocolate-covered crickets? I mean...
Right.
Right?
You might as well.
Might as well. I think I need to find those for my kids.
Jen, thank you so much for talking today about the holidays and giving some of those ideas. Hopefully everyone will manage and stay regulated and survive to the new year.
We do what we got to do for our kids, and everyone else can just off.
Yeah. Well, I'll be thinking of you when I'm up at the crack of dawn.
Oh, yes. I will be languishing in bed and then getting up and making Irish coffee.
All right, Jen. Well, thanks so much. Have a great holiday. We'll chat soon.
Thank you.
So just in case you haven't already finished all of your holiday shopping, here are a couple of ideas that I think are really great for bright kids this year. These are actually all people who had exhibits at the NAGC conference in Albuquerque, so I got a chance to check out these games and play them, and I even will have some photos of these games that were being exhibited, whether it's with me or with some of the people who are using them there at the conference. And so you can check those out on the website or on the Facebook page. So the first game is actually a card game, and it is from looney.labs.com. That's LOONEY labs.com. And it is a card game called Flux, FLUXX. And it's very cool because what it does is it requires the players to use a lot of flexible thinking and adjusting their strategy as they go. It's not a long-term strategy game where, you know what the goal is at the very beginning and you work to achieve that goal at the end. The goal can actually change as the game goes on based on what cards the players play. So the rules can change and the goals can change. And I think this is a really fun game for bright kids who like that strategy, but like to have to be able to think on their feet as well. The cool thing about this too is that there is the Flux card game, but they have all these different varieties. So there's a Star Trek variety or a Monty Python variety or even a Doctor Who variety and even a holiday variety. So if you want to go to their website, you can check those out and order them, but that would be a really fun card game for the kids to play. The next name is Corridor, and that's spelled QUORIDOR, and you can find it at the website gigamic.com. This is a game that has a wooden board, and it's played with two pawns that face each other, and your goal is to get your pawn to the other side of the board and prevent your opponent from getting their pawn to your side of the board. The way that you do this when you play is that each time you go, you can either move your pawn one space, or you can use these little fence pieces and place them into a groove that then makes kind of a labyrinth or a maze or a corridor that can block the other player from reaching your side of the board. So there's a strategy there and a lot of visual spatial strengths that go into playing this particular game. Finally, I recommend going to Teachergeek.com. Now, this is a website and it's not necessarily a game, but it's an activity that could be used at home or in the classrooms. So basically what you're doing is that you are taking all of these different components like gears and motors and pulleys and syringes to build robots or machines that can do a variety of different things. So for example, I saw a claw game that was created using hydraulic pressure from a syringe, or a robot that made drawings using 4 different markers at a time. The cool thing about this website, though, is that you can either purchase those components in bulk, and all of the lesson plans and the ideas and the experiments are downloadable for free. So even if you maybe already have a lot of those different components, you might just go and look at some of those experiments and activities and see if there might be something that you can use in your classroom and at home. So that wraps up our episode on holiday gifts and surviving the holidays with gifted and TUI kids. We hope that you've gotten some good ideas. If you need links or want to revisit these ideas, please visit the episode page at mindmatterspodcast.com. And a big thanks to Jen Merrill from laughingatchaos.com. In the meantime, I hope that you and your family have a wonderful holiday season. I'm Emily Kircher-Morris. I'll see you next time on Mind Matters.
Jolly old St. Nicholas, lean your ear this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm gonna say. Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now you dear old man,
Don't forget, when you hear from us next, we will be called the Neurodiversity Podcast. That's in January after the holidays. Thank you again for making Mind Matters a part of your life. We really do appreciate it. Have a happy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2021, where we hope the world will look a little different. Take care. Mind Matters is a Morris Creative Services production.